Welcome back to Leaders Create Leaders. I'm your host, Gerard, aka GZ Adams. I got a special show for you. It is our 100th episode, so you know I had to bring it back to the day one OG, my co-creator of the show. After 6 seasons, we're going to talk about the entire show, Leaders Create Leaders, on YouTube. Gosh, we probably hit, I know, well over 20 million views. I'll repeat a little bit of history we've created, interviewing people like Ryan Holiday, Lewis Howes, Gary Vaynerchuk, Ed Mylett, Mel Robbins, Roy Kramer, Christian Guzman, and the list goes on and on and on. Some of the most unbelievable, dopest artists, creators, entrepreneurs in history. One thing I want to mention before we go any further, stay to the end of this show. We have a special giveaway, an NFT giveaway. We have something really special that Jeff and I will be doing with you personally, and some other things that we're giving away for those of you that watch this episode and enter into sharing with us how this show has impacted you. Also, if you have not yet reviewed the podcast, please review the podcast. And just thank you all for listening to this 100 episodes. I will be announcing soon the future of what's going to happen with the podcast. But for all of you that have watched and listened and been a part of this movement, Leaders Create Leaders, so much gratitude for you. The greatest leaders of our generation have been on this show, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without my man, Digital Jeff. So welcome to the show, Digital Jeff.
Bro, I'm so happy we're doing this. Especially on episode 100. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a long time. And, you know, the fact that it's episode 100 and we're going to go back into a lot of the things that, you know, a lot of the behind the scenes and everything that we've been able to do with faith. The idea, I always think about how we were walking in faith since day one and how we were able to believe that whatever vision we had, people were going to allow us or be part of it. And the way it's been able to grow over the years, you know, I've been with you like in London where a random person just comes up to us and he's like, dude, I'm literally watching an episode of Leaders Create Leaders right now. And you guys are in front of me. It's like we're in a simulation or something. Like the impact that it's had has been something that it's even hard to tell somebody, but the fact that we're doing this podcast, we can share some of the insight of how not only it's impacted a lot of people's life, but I think it's, for me personally, it's changed my life, the way I see life, the network around me, the people that I have around me. It's changed my kid's life, my wife's life, but I feel like it's also changed your life and the circle around you and what you've been able to do over the last 7 years. Not that you're doing anything amazing before that, you know, but the mission to have people become empowered and have self-belief and believe that they can do it without a rich daddy and a rich mommy or without a degree, or if they were an amazing student in school and they had no self-belief. Like this show empowered, you know, that kid that didn't have anybody looking at him, that felt invisible, that felt that didn't have any support. That's what the show represented. And when you look at the real reason, I don't want to say the word pandemic, but the real problem with the world right now is there's a lot of that. People don't feel seen. Even when people are getting millions of likes, they don't feel seen. And this shows a representation of all those people. And the majority of people on the show were never alphas growing up. They became leaders because it was their only way to overcome a problem they were facing. You know, I think the majority of people that we interviewed somehow faced that throughout their life. That was like a common denominator. And yeah, man, I feel so great about today's conversation because I feel like this is a conversation that we can express the behind the scenes perspective on why we created the show and how we created it, you know, and the conversations that happen behind closed doors. And, you know, there's all these cool stories that we've never shared. So yeah, bro, let's do it.
Both. It's so dope. And I just want to kick off also, everything you just said is so much there that like I feel deeply in my bones of like walking in faith and how and the reason why we started the show. But before I go into any of that, man, the thing that I really want to open up with is just so much gratitude for you, bro. I mean, we have really grown a brothership where we really love each other, support each other, and empower each other. And I think a lot of people don't know what we've gone through together. And Jeff and I launched this show 7 years ago, and we'll tell the story on how we met, but we really both impacted each other's lives so profoundly. And we were there through the ups and downs. We've cried together, we've laughed together, we've fucking hustled together. We've been through a lot together, both in our personal lives, with family. We'll talk about you and having all of your children and being able to, and traveling the world and hustling with me during that time frame. But I just have so much gratitude for the fact that you had faith in me, that you saw me, that you believed in me, to the point where you moved your entire family from Laredo, Texas to New Jersey and New York, hustling with me, traveling the world, and believing in this movement, believing in the mission behind Leaders Create Leaders, to help inspire others that they could do it, to inspire them that they can tap into that leader within, that they have a gift, that they have a purpose, and to show them other leaders like them in the world that had to overcome adversity and be resilient and make their dreams a reality. And I couldn't have done it without you, bro. Like, you have played a huge role, and Leaders Create Leaders would not exist if it was not for Digital Jeff supporting and being behind the lens, man.
Yeah.
He's the one who, I was the executive producer, but Jeff was this director. Jeff was the one who was people think we had this huge, massive team, but it really was just Digital Jeff and I in the beginning, you know? And so thank you, brother. I love you and I appreciate you, man. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, bro.
It's been an honor to do this work with you.
Dude, the feeling is so mutual. You played a huge role in my life, and not only like literally being a mentor, a brother, and the simple fact of just also believing that I could do it, bro. Like, you never doubted me. Not one time did you doubt that I could not do it. And I felt the same way about you. I had zero doubt since the moment I met you. Like, oh, this is the Kanye West of entrepreneurship. Why hadn't I met him before? Why hadn't I heard his name before? And I'm talking about the first day that I met you. That's the way I felt. And I was like, and it's weird because we didn't talk after the first day we met. We didn't talk for about, I don't know, like 45 days. So we had the possibility of us working together were like one in a, I don't know, billion. I don't know. I can't even imagine. I can't even fathom the possibilities. If you ask a mathematician, he would tell you it's impossible for us to find each other. At the age of, I think I was like 31 at the time. I think you were about to turn 30 when we met, and this kid from this little town in Texas to go and work with uber successful entrepreneur from New York City. Like, what are the odds of that happening? And if you play your whole life with odds, I think you lose the magic of being able to create things like this, what we created. So I think that's a lesson that I myself learn from every day. I look back at these improbable possibilities, and for me, it was never an improbable possibility. It was just walking in faith. And one of the first things he told me when we officially started working together was, Jeff, we were in this elevator and we were going down the elevator, and he's like, Jeff, I want you to understand that when I get in the flow and when I get into this like energy space, I forgot how you worded it, but you said these words. You're like, just watch how things manifest. Do you remember that? And I felt that, bro. I literally felt that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and this is before anything.
Yeah, exactly.
This is before anything started. We hadn't even come up with the name of the show. I think we had an idea for it. But yeah, man, like, it's just, for me, it's always a lesson that I can give my children, my wife, but also anybody that knows me, like, understand that I want them to really understand what I'm trying to say right now, because it's one of the most profound things. And if you look at any story from like the Bible, there were miracles. A lot of the stories are miracles, and we tend to think miracles are walking on water, but we walked on water, bro. That's what we did, because there's no other way to put it. I couldn't write a book and tell you exactly this story because it would have not happened. So that's why I feel, we that's for me. It's as an artist, a creator, like it's really hard. Especially it's getting a little bit better nowadays, but it was really hard back in 2014, 2015 for somebody to believe that you can put something like this together, and you believed in me, man. So like when I say the feeling is mutual, I literally feel the same way. Like you never once doubted me, and you allowed me to play, bro. You allowed me to do my thing. You're like, yes, I like that. And you would tell me when you didn't like something too. Like, oh, like, can you change this? Or like, yeah, you got something there. No, there was no friction. There was no doubt. It was just like, let's just play and let's do this. And the most beautiful thing about it, I believe, on top of everything, is that we weren't selling anything. So we would tell people, like, watch the episode. I mean, be on the show, and they were like, what are you selling? And they're like, we're not selling anything, man. We want to sell belief and hopes and dreams to people, and that's it. And there's no cost behind it.
Yeah, it's so true. Looking back, I don't even know if that was the smart thing to do because we were bootstrapped. But yeah, really, truly, I think to your point, right? Like it really was a lot of faith, and it was passion. Like it was me and you really taking our gifts. Like I was at a point in my life where I really was owning my power and my voice, and I had just sold my company. For those of you that may not have really watched this show, this was really the first ever docu-series. This show was a show that really didn't exist. Now there's many shows that have taken this format, but it was really a docu-series that was very unique in a way that you can have an interview and tell a story. From modern day leaders, conscious creators, impact driven entrepreneurs. I mean, we had everyone from artists that were like painters to musicians and like people that were famous, from like rappers and singers to CEOs. Yeah. And we did 6 seasons, on average about 12 episodes per season, that were extremely high production, like behind the scenes, basically like a documentary, basically.
Yeah.
Like for every episode picture like a documentary. If you could imagine how much production and money and energy goes into one documentary, imagine doing 12 of those per season for 6 seasons, including intro and finales. It was literally like a show that you would picture on Netflix that went 6 seasons. And if you watch a show on Netflix that goes 6 seasons, they've literally spent probably like, if not tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on these episodes and on the show at least. And me and you were bootstrapped. Luckily, I had just sold my company, Elite Daily. So I did come into millions of dollars. But when I sold the company, for those who don't know, I immediately put it into a trust where I couldn't necessarily, I could touch it, but I really treated it like I couldn't touch it. I put someone else as the trustee. And the reason why I did that is because the first time I built an 8-figure business and sold my company, I lost tons of money in the stock market, and I was very frivolous with the money, and I was this young Justin Bieber spending money on all types of crazy things, and God took it away from me. And I never forget that moment in my life, feeling like the biggest failure. And I was like, I'm gonna next time be way smarter. And I sold my company. I literally moved into a 1-bedroom. I went from Jeff meeting me in a penthouse loft in New York City overlooking Madison Square Garden to a 1-bedroom
I love that
apartment near the projects in Newark with barbed wire and fucking shit everywhere to launch a community to help inspire underprivileged young entrepreneurs and teaching them entrepreneurship, emotional intelligence, financial literacy. And so I was doing that while launching the show with Jeff and just funding it with my own money that I had saved, but not from that necessarily that money from selling the company. And this shit was fucking a lot. It was not easy. And so, yeah, Jeff, do you remember that? So why don't we kick it off with like how we first met and how the show came to be?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'll do a quick version of how we met. So I ended up booking a one-way ticket in New York City, and I had just quit my job, quit teaching in the middle of the school year, and for me, it was like burning of the boats moment where there's no way that I'm going back home until I figure this thing out in New York City. I wanted to become a filmmaker, and I had one friend in and that I never met him officially in person. First time I meet him in person, his name is Brandon Rubenstein, which is a mutual friend, and I haven't spoken to since probably around the time we started working together. But he was a crucial part for this to work out, and I feel like that was his role to introduce us. So he introduced me to you because he had just met you a week ago at a coffee shop. So he was like, he texted you one morning. He was like, I have a filmmaker from Texas, one of the best filmmakers. I forgot how you worded it. And by the way, I have video clip of this, and I'm gonna send it to you so you can maybe add it here. And he was like, we were having breakfast, and he texts you, and he's like, and you responded with like, I'm sick. You know, I can't really do it. Whatever. He was so persistent. He was so like, he had so much conviction that I needed to meet you. So he kept bugging you, and he finally said, hey, you know what? Come over. I'll give you guys, a quick 10-minute interview, whatever Jeff needs along those words. And we just literally rushed to your apartment. And when I got off to your apartment, one of the first things I saw was Saint Pio, a statue of Saint Pio in front of me. When I got off the taxi, it was like a Saint Pio. And for me, I had this coin of Saint Pio that one of my friends had given me, and I had been carrying it in my pocket as a form of like walking in faith and against all odds and just believing in yourself. So I saw Saint Pio there, like, oh, I'm about to have my date with destiny. So I get off and I finally get to go up to your penthouse. I go up to your penthouse, and from the moment I met you, man, I felt like you were my brother. We have similar traits in the sense of always kind of smiling and just kind of happy to be where we're at, and not never really like that you carried that same energy. And I was like, oh, this could be
Plus both of our
Yeah.
I was gonna say both, like, La Spanish and Latino backgrounds, and
Yeah.
you were from Laredo, which was near Bronzeville, which is where my grandfather was from, and there was definitely some connections there. And for me, just like it was seeing someone else that looks like me, like my same color skin, like brown skin, that's like on the hustle. For me, it was dope. Like I felt like, oh, cool, like another guy who's Spanish like me.
Yeah, and one of it's weird because right now you mentioned Brownsville. Like one of the first things you asked me was like, "Where are you from, man?" Because I guess 'cause you heard my voice or something, like the way I speak, or this lingo that I have. And I was like, "I'm from Laredo, man." She's like, "Oh." She's like, my grandfather's from Brownsville, and I got family in Brownsville. Been to Brownsville, like, oh shit, Brownsville's like the next. That's my neighbor city, man. So, uh, luckily if you hadn't said yes, because you were sick that day, bro. Think about that. You were sick. The odds of me
Yeah,
meeting
it
you that
wasn't
day were
feeling
like,
well. Yeah.
yeah, and you still gave me an interview. I set up my cameras and everything. I was so excited to give you an interview. I had no questions written down for you because I really didn't know who exactly you were. Like, I was going by what Brandon was telling me about you. I had never visually seen a photo of you, so for the first time I'm seeing you. I'm like, Gerard Adams. Wow, amazing young guy in a penthouse. Like, wow, it's like a movie. It's like what's this? I don't know. Like, it was like just a young bro. Like G Easy is like the perfect. G Money is the perfect name for that character. That version of you is like just so raw. Like just wearing like you had these big shoes with all these spikes on them, and then one of your walls was completely painted. Like you just painted a door in your apartment. And I was like, who does this?
Two doors. Yeah. It's
Two
graffiti.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all graffitied out. I was like, this is so dope. And you had some artwork, and then you had a guy working on some social media stuff. And this was the first time I see somebody like kind of like working on their personal brand like that. I mean, I heard it. I mean, I saw Gary doing it. He had like a team behind it, but you were trying to figure things out. And just my observation of you and the way you spent your energy and time with me that day, like gave me this sense of, not, I don't want to say the word comfort, but I felt at home with you because you didn't like treat me like I was taking something from you. Like every time I tried to interview somebody during the first couple of weeks that I was there, like it almost felt like they were doing me a favor. And I just wanted to tell stories, man. I literally just wanted to tell their stories, and Brandon was being very helpful during that process of me finding people, but nobody really wanted to get interviewed. Nobody like who's this kid with the camera, you know? And they never heard my name. They never met me before. Nobody really wanted to give me their time, and you gave me your time the day that you were sick, and we went up to the rooftop. It was freezing cold, and you still like just went off on camera. By the way, that we should put some of those clips here, man.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
just a very memorable moment, and that was my perspective. I would love to hear your perspective on how you saw me walking into your apartment.
well, for me, I didn't want to actually do that day. I remember like just my nose was congested. I wasn't feeling 100%, but Brandon was so persistent. I was asked to speak at a coffee shop. They have this like really cool coffee series shop where they bring cool people to come and speak. And that's where I met him. And so I liked him. He felt this like young go-getter. And so I was like, all right, he's got a filmmaker here that wants to do 10 minutes. You know what? I was just like, all right, he seems super persistent. Let me make it happen. But when I met you, I just remember feeling like, oh, sick, like, cool. Like, this guy seems really dope. This guy seems, like I said, like, I didn't know you were Mexican. I was like, oh, this guy looks Latino. And I respected the hustle. And so that was it for me. Wasn't really thinking too much of it. It wasn't until after you left that basically I was like, that was fucking pretty cool. And I was like grateful that I actually did it, that I got that energy. I remember just like going off on a rant on the roof that you captured it. But then when I saw the video that you put together quickly, and that's when I was like, oh shit, this guy's talented. And I was looking for, as I was a storyteller, so passionate about storytelling, just built a media company where like we won an Emmy. I've done 6 documentaries, and I'm always looking for talent, like in ways to tell dope stories. And here was this guy that I could just tell was really dedicated and passionate about like editing, which is like wasn't easy to find at the time. And so I remember seeing that video, and I was like, yo, this guy's dope. Okay, cool. And then I remember calling you right away. And this was like this was like right during the holidays. It was December.
It was December 31st.
So now, so December 31st, you must have came on like December 29th or 30th or something like that. So now it's December 31st, and I was like, you know what would be dope? To do like a New Year resolution kind of video. And so I just remember hitting you up being like, yo, can you do this video? And you were like, yo, I'm with my family. The ball's about to drop. But you know what? When the ball drops, my kids go to bed, I'm going to work on this all night. And the one thing about you that I'll always like remember through the 7 years building shows with you is you're like a fucking hard worker. And that's one thing that like, if you look at some of the greatest leaders in the world, that was one thing that you can see as a common denominator, is that you couldn't outwork them. And, you know, now I'm all about creating harmony with work. But I still respect the fucking hustle, right? Like you can't replace that. When you really want to make something happen, it's like really being all in and being willing to go the extra mile for it is just everything. And you pulled so many all-nighters for our show that I just respect. And I remember there were certain nights where it was just like, I fucking went to sleep. And I'm like, I'm wake up in the morning and I just know that Jeff would still be up 5 a.m, fucking getting it done. And because you were so passionate, and I felt your passion. I felt your dedication. I felt your willingness to like earn this like opportunity. It wasn't like you weren't looking for anyone to hand it to you. You were like, give me the fucking shot and I'll do it. And you did that. That was like the first for me, like test, like, is this guy going to really get this video done? And you did. And New Year's Day, you presented it to me at like 5, 6 in the morning. I thought it was fire. I dropped it. And then right after that, because you did that, and it was less about the editing. The editing was dope, cool. But it was less about that, and it was more about your character. I always invest into people, and I always give people a shot to work with me. I always bring people on my team based on their character more than their talent. I'm willing to grow with them, and if there is the talent, of course, that's important. I want to make sure that they actually have the ability to get the job done. But for me, number one is character, and I just respect your character. And that's the one thing about your background that I loved was you're a family man. You're a man of integrity. You're a man who deeply cares. And maybe I'm biased because I'm a Latino, but I know what the Hispanic and our community has gone through to get to where we've gotten. You know, like it isn't easy, and we have gone through a lot of oppression and things that have tried to hold us down and hold us back. And I saw how you were like, I'm gonna break the fucking chain. Like I'm gonna sacrifice coming to New York, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to break the chain and to create abundance and prosperity and hope and belief and inspiration to my kids. And for me, that inspires me. Like if I can have someone on my team that I know, like not only are we doing important work that we're both passionate about that's going to impact others, but I know that I'm also going to impact and support this man making a difference in his own family's life. For me, inspires me to like really be all in as well. And so that was it, bro. I was like, yo, I fuck with this dude. And and I thought it was crazy that you were a dad. Like freaking four kids. I'm like, this dude is a freaking legend.
Yeah, bro. I think by that time my youngest was already like 7 years old. 7 or 8 years old, around there. 8 years old. And I think remember when I told you, you were like, what they're all yours? Yeah, they're all mine, bro. Same wife. Susie. By the way, Susie, shout out to Susie for
shout out to Susie.
She always supported us and believed in. She never once
she really did
even made a comment about me going out of town or being. There was one of the first runs we had, which we should talk about, like that we went to San Francisco, LA, all this West Coast. The first ever time that we started filming together. And we went there for an extended period of time, and she never made not one like comment that made me feel like, separated or this. She never like, it was all positivity, but also I spent for the first time in my life, I spent my birthday by myself without my family. We were in San Francisco and I celebrated my kids sang happy birthday to me through an iPad. And it was very like, it wasn't like sad. I wasn't sad or anything like that. It was just like, wow, like it's beautiful that I have support. I saw the other side of like, wow, I'm by myself in San Francisco with Gerard, which we had spent like 3-4 weeks together already, but I still didn't fully know you. You know what I mean? Like I was still trying to figure out like what we were doing. And we're here. So
that's where the faith was really coming in, because we would be in a hotel room with 2 double beds, and there was moments where me and Jeff would just talk about, just this vision of and mission of like helping to inspire leaders in the world. We need more leaders. We need more people that are like coming into their power and showcasing what it takes to be a leader. But like there was just so many moments where we would just be on that bed together, bro. And I just remember, man, like you would be sad, man. There was moments where I saw where you would be like, you missed your family. Like I saw the sacrifice, and we would have these talks, but then there was this like, yo, it's not for nothing. Like this is,
exactly.
And it was like, this is important, and I don't know what it's going to become, and I don't know what's going to happen, because we didn't know. We didn't know how the show was going to be received. We didn't even know, is there going to be a business to all of this? Like, we don't really know, but it was just that me and you were both really passionate storytellers, and we knew that these stories were really important for the world at that time.
Yeah, and I think looking back, bro, like maybe I'm being biased because it's our show, but I feel like it was a pivotal role into creating this movement outside of leaders. I'm not referring to these creators, like what it created from the people that watched it and saw what we were doing, pushed others to also pursue that. I mean, I know for a fact that there's about some of the most successful podcasts, the founders of the podcast have come to me. More here. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose, bro. Have come to me and told me that they launched their podcast because of us. Like they were like, dude, when I saw you guys we were doing, I was like, I feel like I needed to do it too. And that's a domino effect that you have no control when you go out there and do something truly from the heart, and you have a North Star and you have it really like because we had it really clear. That's one thing I loved about working with you. Like we had it really defined of what was a North Star. We're gonna impact create self-belief. We're gonna create. We're gonna tell these stories of empowerment. We're gonna tell these stories that are gonna be. It's gonna be like this, like a library that people can look at 1,000 years from today and say, "Wow, like this." It's part of a renaissance. It's part of It's, we thought, and now looking back at 7 years, like it gets kind of blurry because a lot more people have done the similar shows. And just and I love that too. I love the fact that there's so many more shows now because I enjoy watching other people's shows too. Like,
fuck yeah, bro! You got a new one called
yeah,
Docs. I'm like, yo, it feels like Leaders Create Leaders. I'm like, all right, dope. I want to watch that.
Yeah, bro.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's in the same DNA, bro. Like this new show. It's within the same DNA from what we created. So.
Yeah, just beyond the show, it really did inspire others to own their voice, and to part of being a leader is like having the courage to step out and share your story and build a platform. Like, because there's the part of the journey where you're finally ready to share your story, and maybe you're listening to this right now and you're at that moment where you're ready to own your story. Because sometimes we think that we got to get to this certain level of success that you have in your mind before you can tell your story. And I want you to know that that's not fucking true. You don't need to have the multi-million-dollar exit to be able to own your story and your triumph and know that your story is not done, but start to tell the story of how you overcame struggle, of how you've taken a risk, how you believed, what you've had to overcome to create what you have. And then there's a part where you realize that it's bigger than you, and you can build a platform for others. And we helped to build a really strong platform for a lot of leaders, not only the leaders that came on the show, but like you said, just so many people who came across it, and then it gave them inspiration and empowered them to go and build their own platform or whatever it looked like. And I really think it was a really powerful, just really, really powerful part of a lot of people's lives that I'll never forget. For me, the biggest. Let's go back and forth and create some questions, guys. If you're still listening, at the end of the show, we have a sick giveaway that we're going to be announcing for those of you that have been part of this journey with us, that we want to offer to all of you guys. And I'll just mention, for me, one of the moments where it really hit me, because I had been getting stopped all over the planet, which was like surreal for me, right? Jeff, by like season 3, at this point, if anywhere I went, whether it was New York or LA, just internationally, London, I would get stopped, and people would stop Jeff and I'd be like, yo, Leaders Create Leaders. And like, that's when we were like, holy shit, this is really working. Right. And we were getting about 50,000 to 100,000 plus views, millions of views at this point. And there was a moment, I go to Jerusalem. I'm on a trip to go to where Jesus walked, and I'm in Israel, and I go to Jerusalem, and now I'm at this like holy wall in Jerusalem. This is the wall of like prayer, right? And what's it called? It's like a famous massive wall, that the last standing like wall in Jerusalem, right? That people go and pray, and they put letters into the wall. And I'm walking up to this wall, and everyone's praying, right? And it's like this unbelievable wall. And this little Jewish kid comes up to me at the wall. We're at this holy wall, putting prayer to God and putting letters. And this little Jewish kid comes up to me and just taps me. It's like, hey, are you Gerard? I'm like, yeah. Like, yo, thank you so much for what you created with Leaders Create Leaders. Like, it's inspired me and my friends so much. And that moment for me, being at this holy wall, and a little Jewish kid in Israel is coming up to me, and stopping me and telling me that, I was like, we fucking did it, man. We fucking did it. We fucking hit our goal. Mission accomplished. We've inspired like so many young people all over the planet. And now those young people, I remember Casey Adams was one of them. And now I look at guys like Casey Adams, and I'm seeing these people grow up, and I'm seeing these people like fucking doing it, man. Building their fucking businesses, becoming millionaires, fucking changing their lineage, stepping into their leadership, building their teams, owning their voice, building their podcast, launching their shows. And I'm like, fuck yes.
Yes. Amen,
And
bro.
the truth is, we'll never ever really know the impact, how much it impacted people. But I know in my heart, and that's all that matters. That and it for me, it was one of the most fulfilling things. So, yeah, man. I'm curious for you, what was? Do you have a favorite episode?
Oh man. I have a lot of favorite episodes, and it changes from time to time. um, right now, for some reason, I've been really. If I had to say like which one is right now, for reason I really like the Jake Paul episode, and it's because we documented a time in his path where he wasn't Jake Paul yet, but we saw Jake Paul. We understood who Jake Paul would become, and we got him right before that. Right, literally the minute before he took off, we stopped him and we got an interview with him. So
You know, it's crazy you say that, because I feel like that was one of the cool things about Leaders Create Leaders is we really found people who never told their story in this way before, and we were the first to tell it in that way. And we would catch them, a lot of them, right before they had their like big
yeah,
breakout moment.
because even like we interviewed Gary,
Yeah,
like
that was dope.
he was Gary was obviously like, you know, in the entrepreneur space he was already big, but he still had only a couple 100,000 followers when we interviewed him. He wasn't like who he is
Yeah,
right now.
on Instagram he was only at a couple 100,000. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah, so he was
yeah, he wasn't
big
what he
for
is right now.
us, like in the entrepreneur space or in this, you know,
Yeah.
leadership space. But he
Same
wasn't what
same
he,
with Lewis House.
Lewis,
Same
you
with a
know,
lot of them.
yeah,
They're like
Christian
on the come up.
Guzman, bro, one of my favorite episodes too. Uh, Also because we caught him at the time where he was fine. He had finally launched his apparel brand, and it just took off, man. Like what it's so crazy because at the time we interviewed these people, you know, we kind of saw where the trajectory of where they could go, but you still don't know what they're gonna create. You know, you have this idea
Yeah.
of what they've, and some of these stories, yeah, they've created an amazing impact already, but you know, especially these younger cats, like I'm talking about, like Jake Paul and like Christian Guzman, they were, you know, still kids, bro. You know, still kids, and what they've been able to do after, it's just amazing, bro. So it's, you know, and you know, both Jake Paul and Christian Guzman have always expressed to us how, you know, they value that moment because it was like, for example, Christian Guzman had never been interviewed like that. He had never, like, it was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, you guys are bringing cameras and lights and wow, mic'd up, you know. I still remember his
Yeah.
face, you know, and being able to build a relationship past that, not only with him, but like a lot of the people that we were interviewing, you know, valued us because they had never been in this type of scenario, whatever it is that we were creating, you know. So it was so abstract, especially like having somebody come to your house or to your office, like with, you know, camera crew, and somebody giving you all these like like the questions you were asking were deep questions. They were not surface level questions, you know. And I feel like it's more common nowadays, so it's hard to kind of appreciate, you know, where we're at the moment. But you know, those are things that stick out to me, how important it was, the work that we were doing, and that's really what kept me going. Honestly, like it was like a show that I was like editing this video for me to watch in the future.
Yeah.
I was being selfish.
Because we were learning. We were learning. Like as we're
Yeah.
watching this thing, as we're shooting it, we're learning. It was like, it was for me. It was also just part of my journey too, because I value mentorship so much, and I value how everyone has a story, and that we could truly learn from everyone. Everyone has something that they could teach you, and for me, it was just such a beautiful part of my life where I was still addicted to learning. Like I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to hear from all of these different people from all over the world, and how they did it, and find the wisdom in all of it. Yeah, it was definitely
which one was
something that helped me continue to grow.
Which one was your favorite?
Which would be mine?
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's so hard to pick, bro. Like, it's impossible to pick.
Well, I will say this first before I go into the person that was my favorite. When we first launched season 1, before we did this podcast, I was reminiscing, and I went to the YouTube channel. If you guys want to check out the season, literally it's like better than Netflix. You can go and watch these seasons, and you'll learn so much. And it's on Gerard Adams TV, youtube.com/Gerard Adams TV. And I went to the channel, and I went to season 1, and we have an episode. That was the second episode. The first was me dedicating the episode to my first mentor that well, not my first mentor, but the first mentor that came into my life during when I was building Elite Daily, and his first book that ever changed my life, called Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain by Ryan Blair. And then the second episode was called Family First, and I watched Family First. And that episode got me super emotional because there was moments in this episode that you captured behind the scenes of me getting ready for my mom's birthday and making a painting with my sisters to honor my mother. And you captured me honoring my mother, and there's clips of me and my mother in this episode that made me feel like when you watch the Genius of Kanye's Netflix series, there's moments of him and Donda that when you watch it, you're like, whoa, like how epic is it that Kanye has that footage with his mother Donda, not knowing that she was going to pass away. And I'm like, damn, one day my mother's going to pass away. And Jeff is my Cootie. Cootie was the filmmaker behind Kanye West all those years. And I'm like, yo, Digital
Amazing.
Jeff is my Cootie.
Amazing.
And you captured those moments that for me, I'm like, man, I'm so grateful I have that footage with my mother. So that one really touched my heart. But as far as like which leader, it depends. Like as far as like the interview goes and character, I fucking love. Like as far as like that, I loved Ed Milet. Ed Milet, going to Ed Milet's sick ass house, overlooking the ocean in like Laguna Beach, taking a shot of 1942 tequila, and just vibing with this man that's just like so powerful, so dope, and laughing with us, treating us so kindly, honoring me on his show. Like that was that for me, and like gracious with his time. You know, we had people like Gary Vaynerchuk where it's like you got 20 minutes and he, you know, it felt quick. Very much like it's all about him and what we're, you know, and I didn't feel that with Ed. It was like spaciousness and how can I help support you guys as well. And there was reciprocity. He shared our stuff. You know, it was really interesting for me also doing all these episodes, spending about $20,000 per episode just out of my own money and basically and helping promote these people and their stories to the world. And it was interesting for me to be able to see who didn't want to share. Like who would share our episodes and really get behind the post-production with us, and who would be like, you did the interview on me, I want to leverage your guys' audience, but I'm not going to share it to my audience. And I experienced that with Gary Vaynerchuk. I experienced that with, you know,
Grant
Alexis
Cardone.
Wren. I experienced that with Grant Cardone, who I think these are all amazing leaders. Nothing bad to say about them, but it was cool from behind the scenes being able to get to see their character and where they actually even made promises that they didn't keep. And like that for me was really interesting because then it was like, okay, cool. And there would be a little bit of like a disappointment sometimes, you know, because it's like, damn, I look up to this person and millions of people look up to this person. And yet behind the scenes, they're not as humble or kind and gracious as some people like Ed Milet. He really was, and many others. So he was definitely a lot of fun. Another one that was super fun, bro, was going to London with you. Like that was epic. Going to London with you and interviewing Bradley Theodore, this sick artist. Me and Jeff were like running from like art studio to art gallery to like just hanging out with this like artist who's hustling to truly make it in the art scene and in London. Like he's from New York City, was like doing graffiti on walls in New York, and now all of a sudden having his art being bought by some of the most prestigious, wealthiest people. And like he was taking us on this journey of what it was like for him to grow as an artist. And that was a really dope episode. Danny Lay, before she popped off as like this singer, like this rapper kind of singer, she's like a Nicki Minaj type, Danny Lay. that was fucking dope for me too. Like being in the studio with her, kind of rapping. Roy Kramer was super dope because he just got out of the car accident. And what was interesting for me was like with a lot of the interviews was I had to master a way of evoking people to tell their most vulnerable story.
Yes.
And I was able to activate people in a way where they would open up parts of their coffin and their skeleton closet that they've never opened up before for anyone. And I would get them to go there because I would go there. Part of the show, when you watch it, is not just me interviewing and telling the story of that person. It was me opening up about parts of me that I've never shared either. And through that, it would open up that conversation to go deeper and not just be surface level.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And right now, when you mentioned that about like, just people not sharing, like, and it happened probably like the majority of people on the show, at least in the first couple of seasons, they wouldn't reshare or like promote it to their audience. At the very least, promote it to the audience or just reshare it somehow. They wouldn't do that. And for me, I remember when that was happening, I didn't understand. I was trying to figure out like why would somebody not want to share something where we literally just spend like I spend weeks editing and all this time and energy that we spent together flying to these places, and it almost pointed always back to this idea that when people are intimidated by what you're doing, they're not gonna want to highlight you. And I think that's what everybody that's listening to this right now, like you're gonna face that, but let that inspire you to keep going and doing it 100 times better. Keep becoming a master at it, because if you're already intimidating people, there's still, I can guarantee you, there's still one more shift, one more gear that you can go up, one more level that you can do. And we kept doing that, bro. I feel like if you watch season 1 all the way to, every season kept improving and improving and improving in both me from the production side, but you also as a person, somebody that can
host,
pick apart and really connect with the audience. I mean, not the audience, the guest on the show. Man,
and your editing skills, bro. Like, if you look at Jeff's editing from like the first video he did for me for New Year's that I told you when we met to like our finale in season 3, which I watched before doing this show, and I was just like, fuck, like your editing was sick. Like you took so much pride.
I gotta give credit to Vic. I gotta give credit to Vichy though. I gotta give credit to Vichy. Vichy helped me with that season finale of season 3. So but I was
shout out to Vichy.
Yeah, I was literally
Mike
sitting
Ritchie,
next to
Truman.
Yeah.
We had
Roman Hop.
Yeah,
Roman Hop. Ro Hop. Dude, the crazy part about Ro Hop's story is that he was 17 years old when he got to New York. We found out that he was 17 years old, or he's about to turn 18, and he quit everything to come work with us. It's just like, when I heard that, I was like, what? She's like, yeah, clouds and dirt. But man,
brother, it was fucking, what a journey. And what I think is cool too is when I look at some of these videos, especially the one in 2018 when we were doing the Great Awakening. Guys, check that episode out, or the season 3 finale. Both the season 3 finale and the season, I think, 4 finale, or maybe that was a season 3. The season 3 has like, I think, a pre-finale and a finale, but we had one around that was called The Great Awakening. And there was just certain videos that I look at, bro, and I just really think we were ahead of our time. We were calling out things that were happening in the collective and happening in the world before, I feel like, at the precipice of it really genuinely happening, of the movement of consciousness now, the movement of like what we've seen, the pandemic actually, what happened there, this great awakening that people were feeling in 2020. But we were talking about that ahead, getting people prepared for all of that stuff, and really going within and having that great awakening within themselves before 2020, before like shit hit the fan in the world. And so it's like, I really think we really helped to prepare people so that they could be ready for when the world got really tough.
Yeah, Dude, that's one of the main reasons that I love this. I see like a capsule, like a just like a kind of like reading a history book, and I think about it more now, like in the sense of like 50, 100 years from today, people when they see these videos, they'll be able to touch this moment and be like, oh, okay, I see what was going on during that time, because the people make fun of this. There's this meme going around saying like history professors when they talk about the year 2020, and it's like people like the students all shocked, like what the hell happened in 2020, like. But leading up to that, we were talking about this idea of being mindful, and this idea of like waking up, the concept of woke. We even had a hat that said woke on it, and the word has
Yeah,
become
and
more of
getting
a,
people.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. No, you're right. It has become a little bit more of a meme at this point, and people actually mocking it. But at that point, it really was about like waking the fuck up and getting people to have the awareness of the amount of programming, conditioning, and the way that people have been built to believe that they're not enough, built to believe that they can't, and being brainwashed by the media and by society and by social media to have these limiting beliefs, and that all of it is a
Exactly.
fucking illusion. And we were saying things like before there was ever a pandemic or before there was ever COVID, we were saying the real virus is fear before we
Fear.
even knew that there was a virus coming called COVID,
Yeah.
and helping people to understand fear and to overcome that fear and step into love and hope and perseverance and empowerment and belief, and like really stepping into that and overcoming the fear and realizing that the only thing that's truly stopping them is the fear that continues to be like just pushed on us to hold people down. And I think that was the big thing for us, was getting people to transmute that and to shift that and get out of fear and fucking go for it. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, go after your fucking dreams, and don't let anybody or anything stop you from believing that
Hmm.
you can't. If you know,
Exactly.
if that was it.
Yeah, bro. And
So,
one of the things that I would love to express something to you before I forget, because I think this is very important. One of the reasons that I felt you were chosen, I feel like you. I mean, as I was also chosen to support you in this vision. But one of the reasons I feel like you were chosen was because you were just so raw, bro. Like I feel like in the nicest way, and I hope Mrs. Adams is not listening. Well, she is great too, but how do I word it? You just didn't give a damn. I'll say damn because I don't want to say any other words, but like you just didn't give a damn of how people saw you, bro. You just were super raw, and that gave me a, because I'm like that too, bro. I always carried that with me. I just didn't care what people said about me, and we were living in a time, and it's still happening right now, where there's a lot of people that's all they care about, and they only care about how people perceive them and see them,
oh,
and
you're frozen. There you go. A little back. You're
yeah,
still a little. You were living in a time right
yeah,
now. Go ahead.
yeah. We're living in a time right now where people, so like that's one of the main viruses of just people don't, they're so insecure about speaking or
Yeah.
using their voice in the most raw,
Yeah.
truest form. Like there's nothing wrong with if you have like something negative to say to somebody else. People are afraid to say it, but you sometimes, like for example, the reason that I've been successful with my marriage, like going on 21 years right now, is because me and Susie can be negative with each other in a positive way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but when I tell her something, I'm telling her from I love you and I care about you, and I want you to be the best person that you can be. I see your potential, and you're not being a level 10 right now. And when I'm telling you this, and when she's telling me this, it might sound negative, and I might be like, I'm like, why did she fucking say that? My ego's like all pissed off, but that's the truth. And then it dawns on me like, oh yeah, I do gotta improve in this aspect, you know. But being like that, the nature of being like that uh is not something that's common nowadays. It's almost like everybody's telling you what you want to hear because
Well, the
they're
thing
afraid
is,
of how
everyone is trying to prove. Everyone is trying to prove something to others instead of just proving shit to themselves. And
exactly.
there's, like that's letting go of what other people think and trying to prove yourself to others, and like just coming into being yourself and fully knowing that like that's it, just being yourself. Because it's like, it's still, to me to this day, I'm just like, man, what's so cool is how like every single person in the world is one of one. There is no other digital Jeff in the world. There's no other Jeffrey Castillo in the world. There is no other Gerard Adams in the world. There is no other you, if you're listening to this, in the world. And just owning that, and don't compare yourself to others, because that's them. There's no other you. And I think when people come into that, like, okay, I accept that, and like, let me just fully own that part, me, then all of a sudden there's the authenticity. And at the end of the day, that's what works. When you can step into authenticity and being your authentic self, there's something that is just easily that people can connect to. You know what I mean? Like they can just, they see that like, okay, this person's being real, and people will like you for you. Rather than them you trying to get people to like you for what you think you need to be like in order for them to like you, they will just get to like you for you. And guess what? There's going to be people who don't like you. But at least you can be in a place where it's like, you know what? I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Right? Like some of the greatest leaders
in
in
the
the
good
world.
way. I don't give a damn in a good way. Like,
in a good way. Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you gotta have haters, if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong. You're gonna have haters.
Yeah.
Like that just comes with the territory. You're gonna have people who don't share your shit. It just comes with the territory. At the end of the day, just focus on, and the one thing that I know that we focused on with our work together has been always on the positive. Let's just focus on the positive. And just enjoy the journey. Some people want to get there so quickly, and they're focused so much on the outcome instead of just enjoying the journey. And I enjoyed the journey so much.
Such a gift,
I look back, and one of the things that what I want to say to a lot of you that are listening as well is like, the reason why just going after your dreams is so cool is because in hindsight, when I look back at us building those 6 seasons and traveling, now I just had a family. I have my daughter. I couldn't, like right now, I it's not that I couldn't, it's that I choose, I wouldn't want to actually travel the world again, because I remember that time and how much energy that took from us. That's the reason why we're doing this podcast. And I definitely want to do a show again. But right now I'm in a season in my life where I really want to be with my family. And I want to be more efficient with the way that I tell stories, and longer form, even more intentional. I'm excited about the work that we get to continue to do. But in hindsight, I look back at that life, I'm like, I'm so happy we did what we did when we did it. And that's a little part of history. We used to always use the hashtag "Let's Make History." And I think me and you, we got to create our own little bit of history with the show. And that's something that when you don't hesitate and you go after it, you look back and you have no regrets. If anything, you like, the only regret that people, because that's like the worst thing, is to just go into that deathbed with regret. And you don't, like, for me, having no regrets and just going for it and saying you did it. It may not have always looked exactly the way you want it to look, but if you actually went for it, that's something to be so proud of. And I'm just proud that we didn't hesitate. We figured it out. We bootstrapped. We didn't know who. Sometimes we didn't know the episode that was going to come out the next week, and we had to figure it out who we were going to get on this. And someone would just get the interview in time, and Jeff had to pull the all-nighter, but we made it happen. And man, it was epic.
Yeah, and one of the most empowering things for me as a human being is has been this a concept of like me always feeling like we have everything. I always felt like I had everything. Like I never felt like I needed something else. Like, when we started the show, like I was shooting on these old cameras that I had purchased years before. They weren't even like, the latest version of the cameras. And I could have said, hey, G, like, can you buy these like all these cameras and that? But because I felt like I had everything, I was like, I have everything that I need. I got to improve in here, I got to improve there. But we have somebody like you, Gerard. Like I have somebody that could interview the people. I feel like I have the know-how, the skills to be able to put tripod here, tripod there, like camera here, and and then I can edit it too. So I have everything. I have a computer that I can edit. It was an older computer, but I still felt like I had everything. And I've kept that same mantra ever since I was, 17 years old when I got married. I've always felt like I had everything to do what I needed to do. Whether it felt impossible or not was besides the question. But that's one of the things I can, share with people right now is like, we never said we need this or now we can't do the show. Or if we don't have, a A-list celebrity, we're not going to shoot.
Right. It was like no excuses. We're going to figure it out. And then we get signs. Like God would give us signs. The universe would bring those people to us because of our commitment to the show. We were committed, and so therefore things came to us. The right people at the right time with the right story. But you know what was one of the coolest moments, Jeff? I'll see if you can remember what it was, but we were in LA. It was during when we were doing the Breaking Bread. I was throwing a charity event called Breaking Bread. We were still out there shooting our show. We had just interviewed, I believe, Yaya. And then something happened, and we went nuts. It was one of the greatest highlights. We were jumping up and down, screaming in the base in this like mansion in the Hollywood Hills. I'll give you one hit. There's Twitter.
Yeah, so I was about to say it's either one or the other, but the first one I could think about is like Kanye West literally tweeted the words, "Leaders create leaders." That was it.
Yes!
And Kanye had not tweeted in such a long time, so that little tweet kind of like went mega viral, and we don't know 100% for sure that whether Kanye saw the show or not, but I know in my heart that he fucking watched it. I think he saw
something.
So the finale of season 3. I want to say he saw that. Because you were wearing the Wave Runners.
Check out that Go check out the season 3 finale, guys. But yeah, that went nuts. We went crazy. Play that clip. We went crazy, bro. Kanye West tweeting "Leaders create leaders." You had a second one though. What was this? I'm curious what the second one was.
Well, the second one was like we had spent some time with Topaz Skin Deep, and he showed us this video. We were in Brooklyn, right? And he showed us this video of Donnie at the gate.
Oh,
Donnie Epstein.
Right.
Yeah. And you were like, Jeff, we got to manifest getting an interview with Donnie. And, once you said that, it was only a matter of time before it's going to happen. But you got off a call with Donnie. Like, I woke up in the morning, you were already on a call with him. I don't know how that call came to you, but it was a few days later. And at the time we were already in LA, but I remember just simply like you saying the words out loud, Jeff, we have to manifest an interview with Donnie. Like that would be amazing to capture. Nobody knows who Donnie is. Like he didn't have a social media. Like he wasn't like somebody that could help the show and as far as numbers go, but we wanted to share that story. And a few days later, somehow you were already booking it, and the excitement behind that was just very memorable to me because of the way kind of it was all these, like you said, like these signs that kept coming, and miracles, man. Like borderline, you could just, it wasn't walking on water, but for us it was.
Yeah, it was the greatest part of my journey. So much fucking fun. Oh my God, so much fun. So, having said that, go check out some of the season. Let us know what you guys think. What were some of your favorite episodes? And we have a giveaway. And so the giveaway is going to be that Jeff and I are going to do a call with you, where on that call, it is for you. We will literally give you some advice. We'll coach you. We'll give you some ideas. We'll help you with your vision. And this may be something that you want to do around your story, or maybe around something about entrepreneur, business idea. It could be launching your own show. It could just be to meet us and jam and become friends, and who knows what it is. But we're going to give away a call with you, both Jeff and I, on Zoom. We're also going to give away some of the Leaders Create Leaders merch for some of this, and we're also going to be giving away a special NFT. Jeff's been working on a really cool project called Guru Cats, and so we're going to be giving away a special Guru Cats NFT, and so some really cool stuff. All you have to do is post onto your timeline on Instagram about the show, just how it's impacted you, and just as genuine and authentic as possible. Make sure you tag both Jeff and I, and you use the hashtag LCL4L, and 4 is the number, so LCL the number 4 and then L. Tag Jeff and I, make a post on how it's impacted you, and you'll be entered to win in our giveaway when this episode is released. It'll be 7 days. We're going to pick the winner 7 days after the episode releases. So you guys have 7 days, and it will end for you to be able to be into this giveaway. And so enter in. Jeff, bro, I know our journey is not finished. I'm curious, who would you want to interview on the show next if we had a season 7?
Dude, like, honestly, I want to interview Kanye West. Like, that's kind of like a North Star for me, because I feel like a lot of the interviews that are out there are coming from a different perspective, as it's not from the it's almost like, I don't know, I feel like we could do a better job of getting a really good perspective on Kanye, especially after watching the Genius documentary. That for me is kind of like a North Star of like Leaders Create Leaders, documentary on Kanye West, like a real documentary of what's going on in his life right now before he runs for president.
That would
again,
be so
before
epic.
He goes, yeah. So
that'd be so epic.
Be, yeah.
Elon Musk too. Elon would be so epic. But what's really cool is I know you've been really going all in with Web3. Web3 for me is just the natural evolution of all of our paths. And definitely for me as an artist as well. And so I think there could be something really cool in regards to really covering what's happening in the Web 3.0 space. I mean, just there's been such a dope journey of Web 1, Web 2 with Elite Daily, and Leaders Create Leaders, our show. And now I think there's a really cool opportunity to do more in Web 3. I know you have docs right now, House of Clay, which is super cool. So guys, check that out. And I think that Jeff and I have some cool stuff. One thing I know is for sure is that we're not finished.
Oh no, bro! We're just getting ramped up. Let's go.
Let's go. So new day, new goals. Let's own it. Shout out to every one of you. As we just want to say before we close off that if it wasn't for you guys that have watched the show all those years and still watch it, it'll be up forever. A little piece of history. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have been able to make the show happen. And so thank you to every single one of you that have watched even just a glimpse of an episode or an episode. Some of you that have watched seasons, it's meant the world to us. And so shout out to every single one of you that's part of the Leaders Create Leaders movement. And bro, I love you. Shout out to your entire family too, that supported our show. And I can't wait to see what's on the horizon for us going forward. Hundreds episodes, podcast, 6 seasons. My brother, co-creator, Leaders Create Leaders, Digital Jeff.
Love you, bro.
Peace, brother. Love you too.
Peace.